a little bit of debate, maybe some disagreement. That is coming up, so get ready, folks. Your front row seat to justice, Hour 3 starts now. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, the officer who had his knee on the neck of George Floyd appears in court. Meanwhile, mourners pay their respects to George Floyd in his hometown of Houston. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, a woman says she was the victim of sex trafficking, but now she's accused of murder. The victim, the man who allegedly trafficked her.
Bragging on a Facebook Live. She has a gun in her hand. She's waving that gun in her hand.
It took for her to do something because she got tired of it.
And in New York, Minneapolis, and around the nation, calls to defund the police. Plus, the 13th juror speaks. Tonight, we take a look at your reaction on social media. Welcome back, folks. Great to have you with us. We've got a lot to get to this hour, including your comments. You can go to my Facebook page, Vinnie Politan Court TV. Let me know what you think about what everyone's talking about today, defunding the police. Your opinions, we'll talk about them later on this hour. In the meantime, there's a lot of news to report in the case against the 4 officers in the death of George Floyd. Chanley Painter, Court TV correspondent, has the latest for us tonight.
It's been exactly 2 weeks since the world watched as George Floyd took his last breath in the custody of Minneapolis police. And now since that time, all 4 former officers have been fired, arrested on murder charges, and made first appearances in court. Today, 44-year-old Derek Chauvin appeared before a judge who increased his bail up to $1.25 million without conditions, and then $1 million with certain conditions. And remember, Chauvin is the one who pressed his knee to George Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. Now, in this order that the judge signed today for the $1 million bail, there are some conditions. First, Chauvin must follow the law, have no contact with George Floyd's family, not work in law enforcement or security, surrender all firearms, and not leave the state of Minnesota. Interestingly, the defense did not contest or object to the prosecutor's bail proposal today. The hearing only lasted about 11 minutes, and his next court date will be June 29th. While Chauvin may not be fighting this bail hearing, the other officer there in the middle, Thomas Lane, is. His family actually created a website, tomlane.org. That we have that to put that on the screen. But he is trying to seek donations so that he can bail out on his $750,000 bail. There's an extensive statement on this page where he tries to distance himself from responsibility, saying that Chauvin was his superior officer and that he tried to seek help for Floyd, quote, doing everything he could to save George Floyd's life. It goes on to talk about the bail being unfair. It talks about his education, his background, his volunteer work as well. And Vinny, in addition to these major developments, there are some other headlines coming out of Minneapolis and the city council. Let's take a listen.
I think step 1 for us is to tell the truth. 9 council members from communities all across the city of all different backgrounds standing together to tell the truth and say, this system isn't working for too many of our neighbors for too long. Our reform efforts have failed, and we have done many attempts at reform and new leadership in the department and many things, and we still see this tragic death. And so I think the wake up of our community is what's driving the city council's announcement.
Over the weekend, a majority of the members of the Minneapolis City Council decided that they wanted to support defunding and dismantling the police department there, what they call ending policing as they know it. And this announcement comes on the heels of the city council last Friday deciding to issue a temporary restraining order on the police, in which the city agreed to ban chokeholds and neck restraints and require other officers to intervene if they see this happening. And all of this is happening simultaneously with memorials to honor Floyd's life. Now, there's been one in Minneapolis, North Carolina over the weekend, and then today the third and final public memorial in Houston, his hometown. Thousands paid their respects during a 6-hour viewing held at the Fountain of Praise Church today. and a private final funeral is scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, when Floyd will be buried next to his mother. No one has made bail yet, Vinny, and Thomas Lane. It's interesting because he's putting up an effort, his family hoping to win some supporters and donations so that he can meet his bail. Again, talking about it was his 4th day as a full-time police officer there. Chauvin, his training officer. And in that criminal complaint, we've told our viewers about how Officer Thomas Lane twice asked Chauvin to turn Floyd on his side when he was complaining that he could not breathe, and Chauvin overruled him. He also was the first one to call the ambulance while Floyd was still talking and responsive. And as soon as Chauvin took his knee off of Floyd, Lane was the one who started CPR, all according to tomlane.org. We also reached out to his attorney today, Earl Gray, but Earl Gray did not respond.
Our thanks to Chanley Painter for all the information. And let's focus here now. There's been an outcry. Arrest them all, convict them all, throw them all in prison, okay? But should our system of justice treat all of these officers the same? Specifically tonight, let's talk about Derek Chauvin, who was in court today, the man with his knee on the neck of George Floyd, and the rookie, Thomas Lane. Should they be treated the same? Let's bring in our think tank tonight to talk about it. We've got a great one. Joining us tonight, trial attorney, former prosecutor Leslie Ricard Chambers is with us. Also with us, Lawrence Zimmerman, criminal defense attorney, president of the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and trial attorney Joseph Lowe back with us again. Also, great to have all of you here. We begin, ladies first tonight. Leslie, should our system be treating Derek Chauvin the same as the rookie, Thomas Lane, the rookie who 4 days on the job, 4 days, and his training superior officer is Chauvin?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be out of the ordinary for the prosecution to obviously put the biggest or heaviest charges on Officer Chauvin. He is the person or the officer who had his knee directly on the victim's neck here. And then, of course, you had the other officers who sort of looked away, right? And didn't, try to intervene or acknowledge the fact that Mr. Floyd was in a very serious situation here and possibly, was going to lose his life and ultimately lost his life because of Mr. Chauvin's actions. And so it's not out of the ordinary that you would see a scenario like this where the person who is deemed to be the direct assailant, if you will, to be charged with the greatest charge than those who were possibly seen as onlookers, but at the same time participants in a case like this.
Lawrence, aiding and abetting, they end up facing the same penalties here potentially, depending on how things turn out here. But I'm looking at them, I see them a little bit differently based on some of these preliminary facts that we have. And right now, they're all swooped up together, all 4 of them. Should they be?
Well, let me ask this question. Why are we going to treat the police any differently than we treat somebody who is the getaway driver of a bank robbery and didn't go in the bank? They're both charged the same. This Lane watched this happen, didn't do anything. He was there. He's a police officer. He knows better. I don't care if he's on the job for 4 days. Where's his humanity? He could have done something, tried to stop it. And it is, what we call party to crime, aiding and abetting. I don't legally see an issue. And if this was just John Q. Public who did this, they'd both be charged the same. I don't know why there's a different standard. Maybe that needs to stop so these things stop.
Joseph Lowe, do you think that prosecutors have a little more difficulty proving the intent aspect for the rookie Thomas Lane, who twice apparently said, hey, should we put him on his side, and twice by his superiors told no, and then he's the one who does CPR?
Absolutely not. And let's make it clear. When they agreed to be police officers and to be trained, and then when they were certified as being properly trained and had the right disposition and the right personality profile, the right commitment, they finally then had to take an oath. The oath was that they would protect and serve. Now, every single person in this world who's watched that video could clearly see that there was a man committing a murder and doing something they ought not to be doing. And when those officers who had the proper training, 4 days or 4 years or 400, made the intentional decision to do nothing. Man, that defense about we're just following rank or I was outranked, that's something you do when you got nothing else to say except for, yeah, we let it happen too.
All right, let's go through this. What should he have done? If let's say that one officer, just one officer, let's say for instance it's Lane, the rookie is the one who does not want to go along with this, what should he have done at that moment?
How about
I'll start
yelling,
with you,
"Stop"?
Leslie.
Oh, sorry.
Well, what he should have done is what we all tell our children when, when they come into contact with bullies or when they see people being bullied, right? You stop the bully and you help and you intervene. And I think that that basic concept is what's, really causing a lot of people to feel unsettled about this situation.